Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for listening to another episode of Someday with me, Jay Barsky. I'm happy that you are listening to this. I'm happy to be sharing another solo podcast. This is another solo podcast from previous interviews that I had. If you get a chance to listen to it, I had two previous guests from the podcast I had before. So I had Olin Whiteley on the program, and then following him, I had Coley, and just did a Zoom podcast with him. And then for my third interview, I had a unique guest and had fellow comic Nadim Awad to join me at the studio, in which we were able to share some great information about comedy and just motivational tools to help you reach your someday. As I mentioned before on the solo podcast, I like to save my updates on the solo podcast. So just starting off, there's a lot I wanted to update you with on what was going on with me, just because the previous 3 episodes I had was just interviews, so I don't share too much of what's going on with me. I just save all that listening time really just for the guests. So these solo podcasts are more fun for me to just share some information and have some recording tools for me. In the month of June, I believe I released an episode, and I just focused more on my stand-up since I finally was able to write a new 5-minute set and just be comfortable enough to do a lot of mics with it and do a lot of different performances with it. I do a mix of just open mics and sometimes showcases. I perform both at open mics and showcases just to practice my 5-minute set. It just depends on location, crowd, and everything. I kind of just like to strategize when and where I'm going, because I do try to catch multiple open mics or try to catch multiple shows. It just depends what's going on for that day and maybe who's performing. There's a lot of factors into when I try out my material. But the thing is, like, June was pretty busy for me as for performance wise. I didn't really focus too much on writing just because I finally had that new set, which I was comfortable. I would say after a good 7 times, it gets me more comfortable to really memorize everything. I still carry a joke card with me, but it's now to the point that I don't need it, but I still like to have it just for emergencies. So I try to perform maybe once, twice, maybe once a week or every other week. It just depends on how engaged I am. I would say June was pretty busy for me because I typically perform maybe 3 to 5 times a month. I would say that I maybe performed over twice that amount just because I was able to perform multiple times at different nights. And I don't do this too much, so I kind of have a kit with me whenever I perform like that. I always make sure I keep a bottle of electrolytes with me just to keep my energy up. It actually works better than coffee. I like coffee. I wouldn't say I'm a coffee connoisseur, but I do try to partake in coffee sometimes in the afternoon. It just depends, when I make sure I just have a good rest during the day before I go out and perform. I have a bottle of electrolytes and just a big gallon of water to just refill my water bottle, because I don't drink too much. Sometimes it just depends if it's a showcase I'm attending and maybe just to be more supportive of local businesses. I'll buy a drink, but not maybe drink too much. I'll still have my bottle of water with me just because I kind of need more water. I need to drink more water when I go up and do my stand up because I just talking a lot. It's hard to speak with a dry mouth, so it's just nice to have those water breaks. I even when I do these podcasts, I do water breaks. So that was June for me. July, I kind of slowed down on performing just because I kind of just want to reevaluate and probably focus on myself for a bit, just some kind of self-care stuff. I still made sure to perform, but I'll always make sure to watch the shows. But I did want to focus more on the podcast, which was which was kind of driving me to just do some new stuff. Which, if you followed or if anything on the socials, I was working on a promo for any of guests that I had. A lot of stuff you'll see as for advertisement is stuff that I kind of just created on my own, just teaching myself certain tools and resources to use. So one thing I use a lot is Canva. So that's what I used for just for the cover art for this podcast. And I didn't want to, when I had guests on, some of the podcasts kind of show different artwork of the cover art, and I didn't want to just make it all about me. So I like it if I had a guest on, that I could include a cool photo of them as well. So if you are listening to something if you're, I don't think on Apple Podcasts, I'm not too sure if it shows all the artwork. I think at some point it does, but if you do like Spotify, if you even just look at the Instagram socials, it's always cool when you have a vision and you kind of just put it all together and you kind of just see your vision in reality. It's pretty cool. Like, hopefully you got a chance to check that out. But if you're ever interested in doing like promos, like flyers and stuff like that, Canva is a great tool to use. I do a lot of stuff just using that. It's a pretty easy tool. I always say if you're pretty crafty when it comes to stuff on your phone, especially with social media stuff like TikTok and Instagram, Canva is going to be an easy tool for you to use. I mean, you can use it on your phone, but the best way is just to, if you have a desktop or some kind of a computer available, is just to do it on that. But yeah, I got inspired to just work on more on the podcast. I think just June kind of tired me out with a lot of performing. So that's why July kind of just used more of that time and energy to just stay home and focused more on the podcast. Was able to just post a trailer for the podcast and was able to get an earlier episode out, which was with Nadim Awad. So I was able to get 2 interviews posted for the month of July. So this solo podcast, I'm recording still at the end of July, but I'm going to make sure it's posted in August. But I'm excited on the podcast because it's kind of coming closer to my vision and what I imagine it to be. It probably won't be fully seen or witnessed until maybe a good 50 episodes in. My goal right now is just to get to 10 episodes because at least 10 episodes is kind of like I consider a soft opening of what you'll see by episode 50. So planning for some solo podcasts still. Those usually take time for me just to come up with ideas of topics to cover, have an outline and everything. So that was July for me. I do try to find some way to still keep busy. If I'm not going out and just performing and hanging out with people, even if I'm staying inside, I'm still making sure I'm active. I'm being productive. If I'm not teaching myself, I'm learning certain things. Kind of what I want to get into. My plan is for August, just my future plans, is just working on promoting the podcast some more. I don't want to just keep on posting episodes and without really promoting it. Promoting it really just attracts attention. It gets those ratings, gets those comments, boosts those numbers. And as that progresses, so does just more interest in getting other guests, kind of drives me to still continue doing episodes and really doing stand up because after every time I do post an episode, I'm no longer worried about posting another podcast for another month. So it just drives me to, as soon as I end up posting it, I can just go back to doing stand up because it kind of just, that's another way of promoting the podcast, is more of just word of mouth. If I'm not heard for the podcast, at least I'm seen when I'm doing my stand up. So that's another way of me trying to promote it. There's still some things on the podcast that I want to work out. There's still kinks to it. I do a lot of the stuff that you hear and see is all DIY stuff by me. So I handle all the sound equipment. I'm handling more of the sound equipment. I don't want to jump into video just yet. I want to wait some time to do video. If you look at a lot of like big name podcasts, they don't really do too much videos anyways, like as for YouTube and stuff like that. They'll post a video, but they'll still have just the audio, so it's not the actual video of the 2 people talking, which you'll see on the YouTube for my channel. It's really just the audio recording, but it's with the promo that I used. But with the sound equipment, it's still a lot of stuff I'm teaching myself. With the sound equipment, just little tools. I might have to invest in a couple of things. I do try to be a little frugal with the equipment. I don't think it's necessary to spend too much money on like really expensive equipment as long as you know how to properly edit everything. It's a really great skill to just teach yourself how to edit audio, and the equipment wouldn't have to be too expensive. You honestly don't need like a big wide space studio. So I want to invest in some equipment. One thing I want to invest is an extra mic. The mic that you hear me speaking to right now is actually the SM7B mic. So that's more the professional mic, and that's easier to use for myself. It's a lot of different equipment that I have to use. So I know it's a lot of stuff that I need to figure out too. I don't have like a technology background and all that stuff. I have more of just a social science and public health background, and I just teach myself. It's just fun to kind of just sit down and teach myself um, all this technology and just fun ways to help boost it, so I can try to travel more and carry this equipment with me and just be more comfortable in just going to different locations. As long as I'm able to figure out how to properly manage the audio, and at some point maybe do jump it up to video. But it's just new skills, new equipment that I need to teach myself. But so I'll make sure to figure it out, and you'll hear and you'll see the progress as it goes. I'll have this solo podcast for the month of August, and I'll try to start preparing for maybe another solo podcast or two, or maybe just an interview. I'm still working everything out as for equipment, so we'll see how it goes. I now want to get back into focusing on writing. I'm challenging myself as a writer I've been just doing 5 minute increments, but I kind of want to challenge myself to writing a whole 10 minute set. So I've just been working on that, and I want to slowly deter away from just doing stand up and being out there performing the same kind of stuff I've already been performing for some time now, and now I just want to focus on this 10-minute set that I'm working on. And it's just a lot of stuff that I've been wanting to cover a lot since I've been doing stand up, but just trying to figure out my voice and who I am as a person, and how I able to make someone laugh and just catch someone's interest and kind of just guide the audience to my way of thinking on things. So that's the plans for everything. I think I given enough updates already. Before I get into kind of the body of this podcast, I do want to mention, if you actually have any questions, want to have advice on just more positive thinking, just motivational techniques to maybe help you, just message me, just email me. It's on the socials. It's IMJ Email is imjbarsky@gmail.com. So just send me a message, and what I'll do is actually compile everyone's messages. I'll keep it anonymous, and I want to share those questions or maybe comments, and I'll probably reflect on those comments, and just something that you feel like should be shared to the public on ways to just think positive and still motivate you in achieving that someday in your life. All right, so now to the main portion of this episode is I want to talk a little bit about manifestation. So just talking about manifesting your wants and desires. And every time I talk about manifestation, it sounds really spiritual when I talk about it, and I kind of want to talk about it in a more professional manner, because it is something that should be taken serious when you are wanting to achieve anything that you desire, like any passions and hobbies that you would like to make it a career or something to help you achieve your goals. And if you're actually doing things to get you engaged and active into reaching those goals, you are manifesting everything that you are desired. And if you're not doing anything about it, then you are not manifesting. Manifestation is real. I believe anything that can be vision and beyond is achievable, as long as you are needing to develop a strategy plan. So you need to make a blueprint and how to achieve those goals. So that's why you have those mini goals to help you prepare you step by step into those bigger goals. You should look at your life as if it's a biopic. So, as if it's a movie, you are watching that movie, you are watching that film, and you are watching yourself play a role that you know how to play, because it is your unique role. No one else can play that role better than you, because you were born in that role and you were born to stand out in the world, which is why you have that movie that is your biopic. But you also have different roles in that movie. You're the main character, you're the star of the movie, but you're also the director of that movie. So you know where the beginning is, because that's where you are. As the director, you'll know where it ends. As you develop that role, develop that movie, try to figure out that movie, you try to figure out those mini goals to help prepare you to get to that end goal. So that's what the body part of that movie is. That's what it's the entertainment. That's the journey of you trying to achieve that goal. It's just because anything that you are wanting to make your someday is considered a totem that you are trying to achieve. That's why it's helping you to think more positive on everything. But you have to know that there's parts in your movie that's going to have plot twists. There's going to be parts that's going to be unexpected because you are trying to achieve that end. And that's the mystery. Like, that's the actual entertainment part. That's the parts that you should enjoy. When I'm up there in my stand up, at least when I get comfortable to a point where it's a good set that I've done it so many times that it pretty much can be comfortable that I know which parts it's funny. It kind of gets less thrilling for me because I already know what parts already need to be worked on. I already know what parts have already been pretty much polished it up because I record everything. So at some point it just becomes just the same thing. If I'm doing the same thing over again, thrilling part is just having someone in the audience engaging with me. Sometimes it's hecklers, sometimes it's just people just loud responses to things I say, whether it's good, whether it's bad. It kind of just gives me an audible to work with it. Sometimes the audience members wants to get more engaged with me, which is something I'm not really used to just because I'm still new to stand up and everything. But I just kind of help prepare myself to have certain responses, so I already have kind of like backup responses when someone's engaging with me because they're changing up the game for me. And that's the part that I actually enjoy because it's unexpected. So you shouldn't really fear those unexpectations because you actually should be expecting it. You should be confident in yourself that when it does come, that you are going to be able to overcome it. Because again, you know your end goal, but it's that middle part that you really don't know. That's the mystery. That's the fun part because that's where the entertainment is. That's why people are going to come and watch your movie and want to see where it ends because they pretty much are going to assume that it's going to have a good ending at some point in the movie. It's just they really want to see that journey, that adventure. They want to see that work that was put into it to get to that end goal. You know where you want to be at the end, but it's just how you're going to get there is going to be the issue. That's what being confident is. Even if you don't have too much confidence, if you appear to be confident, it actually exudes to treat you as if you have that confidence. And it just helps boost your confidence to the point that either it will help you actually achieve the confidence that you need or actually boost the confidence that you already have, which either way is a good thing. It's important to have positive people around you. I'm not saying that you have to have big groups of friends, you have to have surround yourself with a lot of people, but if you are someone that does like to engage with somebody, like has to be around people all the time, just make sure those people are positive people to be around. It's okay to maybe slim down your friends group. And sometimes what will happen if you kind of share things that you want to do to your group or your friends or just anyone that you surround yourself that you need to talk to about, just want to share some information about things that you want to achieve in your life. You might get some negative feedback. Sometimes people are a little critical, sometimes friends will some realistic advice and which is appreciative, but you should also consider that you shouldn't worry about what people say or you shouldn't take feedback too critical. Feedback is very helpful to have. It's for helpful when I do my stand up, when I go out to do open mics to try out certain bits or jokes. Whether or not an audience is member is responding to it, that's the feedback that I need to receive. So that's how I know whether a joke is working. Sometimes you can already know or feel like what are some things that you need to work on yourself that when you hear it from somebody else, you kind of already know it, but you may need that reminder. Just know that if you already know that you need to work on it and if somebody else is approaching you about it, then that's kind of a reminder just to be more focused on those issues that you're working on. And positive people can give you some good feedback. I'm not saying it's not going to be all critical, but it should be just advice that's coming out of love and respect. And just know that even if it's something that you strongly are confident in and they don't, and they're not supportive, how you should look at it is that they don't see your vision. They don't know you. Again, they're not in your movie. They're not the director of your movie. Maybe they were there in the beginning at some point, but they're not there at all times. only you know where your end goal is going to be. And even though you share that information with someone else of what your desires are going to be, you have to understand that sometimes people just don't see that vision that you see. They might see something like they don't understand that's everything that's in your head. And sometimes you're not wording things correctly, which I go back to the stand up. Like there's things that I consider really funny, but it's hard for me to word it correctly to the point where it comes out funny. So that's why it takes me some time to actually word things out. And even to at some point, it would take me months to finally kind of tweak a word or two to finally actually make it funny the way that I saw it funny. So things like that, just wording wise, can always, even just how you say your words, or could be the way someone was feeling that day or something experience that it kind of triggered them. You can't take that feedback in a negative way. It's really about interpretation. That's why you should think positive. As long as it's supportive, you should think as anything, even if it's negative, you should find it some way and put a positive spin and help you support that dream and that goal, because that's the end goal for you, is that dream and that's goal. It's not for you to just shoot it down as soon as somebody says you can't do it. It's because they don't see your vision. That's something that's very positive for you to think at things. If someone ever tells you something like that, or I've told you that, or will tell you that, just keep telling yourself they don't see your vision. That's why it has nothing to do in a negative way. Even if it is, you should always consider it coming out as a positive feedback. And sometimes you might have trouble to realize that maybe you can't accomplish things that you want to vision yourself doing or achieving or becoming the person that you want to become. And something that may help you realizing that you can do that is when you do something that you wouldn't believe that you would have done. And this could be something very small, like do a certain hobby, going to a certain place, even learning a certain skill that you never thought you would learn, that you always were interesting, or just having a certain experience that you wanted to have, or go somewhere that you wanted to go. It's when you do something that's really that you wouldn't believe yourself ever doing that or accomplishing that is when you kind of opens the door to make you realize that you can accomplish other things in your life, that you can pretty much accomplish anything that you want to desire and achieve, even then some. So I just want to use myself as an example. When I was in the Peace Corps for a couple of years, I lived in a small village in the Fiji Islands, and I learned how to do a lot of construction projects. I don't really have a construction background. Right after grad school, I just went to the Peace Corps service and kind of learned how to write grant proposals in order to have a lot of construction projects that helped build and was funded by various embassies. So just learning how to do a lot of that, just directing myself independently on projects that I didn't really see myself accomplishing at first, and just I still put in the effort. I didn't see other accomplishments relevant to what I wanted to do, and I felt that was more of a challenge for me to maybe see that I can do a lot of things that I can set my mind to, which that kind of helped me build that confidence in myself that there's things that I want to do that I don't see others doing, accomplishing similar. It doesn't mean that it's not attainable. It just means someone hasn't got to that place yet. And that's still an opportunity for me to try to attempt to see if there's anything that I can do to accomplish my goals and achieving that someday. One thing that's really helpful in you realizing that you can achieve anything you want to is by being resourceful. That's the key thing that I want you really to take away from this manifestation thoughts that I'm sharing with you, is that you would need to be resourceful in anything that comes your way, that you still see that goal, you still see that end goal that someday that you want to achieve, but you're going to have those challenges, those unique challenges to get to you, that it's going to try to drive you away from achieving those goals. That's why you need to be resourceful, that you need to find other ways to get to your end goal. You need to be able to do a lot with only little that you have. Even though if there's a business that you want to start, you have to really prepare yourself for those small steps to help build your confidence in order for you to really make that big leap into the end goal that you will finally achieve. So being resourceful is helpful. I like to think like like MacGyver. MacGyver's kind of known to be a little resourceful. He's known to be resourceful with any tools that he may have. I think he was I can't remember the show. I think he was like a secret agent or something. But he was just always known to be very handy with anything that he had around him to get out of any bad situation that he's in. So just think like MacGyver. Be resourceful. You're going to have those situations where you're going to come across a it's either going to stop you from trying to achieve your goals or challenge you to develop as a person and try to be resourceful in working a way around those problems in order to get to that end goal. Only you can see your vision, only you can see how unique your vision is. It's always good to have that supportive group of just having supportive people that help you see that vision. So, but you can't really expect everyone to see your vision. They can still be supportive of it, but it doesn't mean that they can always see it. Only you can see your vision. And I would like to get upcoming guests that are motivational speakers, kind of reminding you of everything that's being mentioned. And it's not just me telling you the same thing of how you can do anything you want. I want other people to be out there, the other professionals out there that are telling you the same thing in a different manner, that maybe in a better way that you can interpret it versus what I probably said in the past. So I talked all I can about manifestation. Now I would say it's getting to my favorite part of doing these solo podcasts now. And it's kind of the outro, leave some words of wisdom, some advice, anything that I can recommend to just helping you achieving your someday. And I kind of want to leave, I think in the past I kind of mentioned like things that you should start doing. This time I want to leave you off with some words. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I wouldn't say I'm a big science fiction fan. I've been to a Comic-Con. They're actually pretty cool, but I'm not one to like dress up in Star Wars uniform, but I'm low key a Star Wars fan. And one character I've always admired was Yoda. Yoda is a really cool character. If you don't know, he's the small green guy with large ears. He kind of trains Luke Skywalker into being a Jedi. And the words that are known for Yoda to mention, at least on the movie, do or do not. There is no try. So those are like big strong words, very simple words which but have a strong meaning and that say a lot. How I've always interpret that is to just whatever you wish to achieve, it's either you are doing it or you're not doing it. Don't ever tell yourself you're gonna do it. It's either you're doing it at this point. If you're thinking about it right now, you should do any step that you can, even if it's a small step. You should do any step that you can to achieving that goal. If it's something as simple as just meditating on it, just sitting down and thinking and strategizing, that means you're actually doing something to achieve it. You're not just sitting there and not thinking about it. You're not doing. It could be something as simple as Googling it. Just whatever you want, it's either you're doing it or you're not doing it. So if that's the person that you want to become, you start becoming that person immediately. You think that you are that. That's what your vision is supposed to do. You should start already thinking about the life that you want to live. You should already start thinking how you're going to live that life, how those things in your life is going to bring you so much positive joy, that your goals should already bring you so much positive joy that you should already start thinking that you've already achieved it. Once you kind of have already had that mindset, it'll open doors for you that you probably never realized, that the end goal that you may have could be way better than you've even envisioned it to be. And that's why it's important just to just strategize. I mentioned earlier about building that blueprint to help build those mini goals to help you do that thing that you want to do so much in your life. That's why I recommended chess earlier in a previous episodes, because it kind of helps you prepare those backup plans that you need. To mention about being resourceful, that you need to be resourceful when you come across those issues that might block you in order to prevent your someday. So you're just needing to strategize to think like 3, 5 moves ahead or whatever moves ahead against your partner or even better yourself. It's yourself that you should realize your weaknesses and strengths. Like that's the person you should know the most. So creating those backups and the confidence in yourself to help build those audibles in order to overcome any unexpected situations. So that's what I want to leave you off with. I hope that works. So do or do not. There is no try from Yoda, not baby Yoda. This is adult Yoda. I think he was like 1,000 or something. I think that was his age or something like it was up there. I'm not great on my Star Wars facts. I'm only a beginner. So I hope you enjoyed that episode. I hope that made you realize that you can manifest anything that you want in your desires and that it's real. Don't let anyone tell you anything different. Don't let anybody tell you that it's different. You can manifest anything that you created in your mind, you can build it in reality, but you have to be able to manifest that. That's the key word, manifestation. But I want to leave you with that. Thank you so much for listening with Someday with Jay Barsky. Please rate and comment on the podcast. That helps it grow and help others to achieving their someday. Hope you took a lot from that, and I'll see you soon.